A strong tornado outbreak is likely this afternoon and this evening across portions of the Midwest. Who could be getting impacted today, and how intense could these storms get later on? Find out all those details and more in today's video. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Atmospheric Alex here, and welcome to an emergency update here on our severe weather risk today / potentially even tornado outbreak risk today across portions of the Midwest and even across portions of the Great Plains as well. I didn't mention that in my intro, but we could be talking about tornadic activity down there as well. As we get started with today's video, we're taking a look at aguacero weather, and let me kind of zoom out a bit to fit this in the screen. We're taking a look at our National Weather Service alerts right now and our current radar. And what we're currently going to notice here, we're going to zoom right in on it. We already have a little bit of severe weather getting underway. Across portions of Ohio here, you can already see a line of severe thunderstorms moving towards Cleveland, but this is not going to be the main risk today. We are looking at our main risk with these storms starting to fire up down here in portions of southern Illinois. That's a little bit further south than models portrayed, so a bit concerning there. We even have a bit of a storm popping up here in eastern Missouri, so yeah, we're already starting to see some initiation, but wait until I show you some of our model data for what could happen this afternoon. As we start off today's video, we're going to take a look at our Storm Prediction Center's convective outlook, where we do have a 3 out of 5 on the severe weather scale, enhanced risk for severe weather across portions of our Midwest and portions of the plains as well. And as we take a look at our individual risks here, we are talking for sure about a tornado risk. We're talking about a strong tornado risk down here in Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, and then an strong to even an intense tornado risk right here. We have a level 2 out of 3 on our intensity scale there, a SIG 2 tornado risk there for portions of southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, and going into eastern Iowa. This is where we could definitely be talking about chance of a tornado within 25 miles of a given point, something to note. But as we take a look at our other risks here, like our wind risk, talking about strong damaging winds are going to be likely across those areas. Our hail risk, I actually did not see that. That just got added. We are talking about over 3 inches in diameter for some of these areas here. Softball size hail cannot be ruled out on a day like this, maybe even greater, and we're going to have to watch out very closely. As we go ahead and take a good look at what our HRRR model is portraying for later on today, you can see we could already be talking about supercell development in portions of Iowa here as we head really an hour after this video is done and posted, and you can see our activity continues to intensify. I strongly believe that our HRRR is showing our worst case scenario. So we'll go over other models in a little bit that don't show it nearly as insane, basically. But you can see supercells firing up across portions of Wisconsin, as well as we head to around 5 to 6 o'clock this evening. Most of that is going to be hail, but on the southern end, we could be talking about a strong tornado risk. Look at all that hail up there. But then as we head later into the evening, we could see more supercell initiation further south here into portions of central, maybe even getting closer to southern Illinois. That's not a forecast, but is a possibility. And these storms in particular, and especially these, look at these that blow up near Chicago here later on in the evening. Look at just how favorable, how volatile that environment is right there. Those storms could produce strong to intense tornadoes in such an environment. So we're going to have to watch out for that. Maybe even, the outside chance of a violent tornado as well in the environment presented today. We're talking about some intense supercells here, quickly strengthening there. That would be a really dangerous scenario if that came to fruition, and I don't think it personally will. I think this model is a little bit out to lunch, but I just wanted to show you all the worst case scenario before we get into the rest of our video. Storms will hopefully die out by the time we reach midnight tonight. Now, in terms of our southern mode here, and down in the plains here, you can see a few supercells trying to fire up across Oklahoma and Kansas as we move into 5 to 6 o'clock tonight, or this evening, I should say. And then you can see perhaps more pronounced supercell development. These are likely going to be in the form of clusters, but I don't quite think they'll be as messy as what the HRRR is portraying, but I could be very wrong about that. And you can see damaging winds, large hail, strong tornadoes, all going to be possible, maybe even likely with those storms that move through. And now we're going to go ahead and take a look at our worn on forecast models here to get a better idea of what today could look like. These are experimental from the National Severe Storms Laboratory, which is very cool if you ask me, but these are going to be very important in determining today's risk. We're going to take a look at our mid-level winds here at our 500 millibar level to kind of see what direction they're coming out of, and we're going to kind of go through time here. Let's say towards around the peak of the event. We're going to kind of take note here, right? We're going to do a little bit of annotations here. We have winds roughly coming out of the southwest up here into portions of the Midwest, or I should say the portions of southern Wisconsin, if I could talk correctly. And a little bit further off to the south, we have winds out of the west-southwest here across, say central Illinois. And we are trying to see how much change in direction there is aloft of this wind shear. That will determine our tornado risk. Well, we're going to go ahead and advance it on a slide here to our 850 millibar winds here, basically our lower level winds. If I can get things to load, the site's being weird today. You can see we do in fact have directional shear. Take a look at this. We have winds out of the southwest right here and winds almost out of the south-southwest down here. So look at that change in height. We definitely do see that, and that is going to provide a lot of directional wind shear. We do even have a little bit of speed shear as well, though. I would like to see values a bit higher in this, but 30 to 40 knots is sufficient enough for strong tornado development. At our surface here, we do have winds out again of the southwest down here further south and out of the south-southwest right here. So there isn't much directional shear between the surface and the low levels, which could be a bit of an issue, could cause storms to be outflow dominant today, maybe could be a limiting factor from our tornado intensity standpoint, but we're going to have to wait and see. That could change as time continues to progress. That's what that looks like though. Now, as we go ahead and take a look at our storm energy for today, it kind of goes as follows. We're talking a fairly large area of 4,000 cape here across, say, Iowa, Illinois, Missouri there. That's going to be very significant. And as storms begin to develop in this environment, you could see, I mean, look at that. That is a lot of storm energy. If you're going to ask me, quite a high amount of storm energy for this time of year. As we move further off to the south, we're still hanging around 2,500 to 3,000 storm energy, going, say, into central southern Illinois, where additional supercell development cannot be ruled out. Our 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative helicity, and this is very important when we're talking about tornadoes, but you can see here, we are expecting tornado development across, much of our area here. Look at that across southern Wisconsin. Definitely becomes quite favorable. Portions here of northern Illinois, quite favorable. Central Illinois, a little bit favorable as well. So pretty good tornado ingredients there. Like to see values a bit higher, but you'll likely see that in mesoscale interactions with your storms that do form. You can see a heightened environment in front of those storms that isn't being modeled. That's what tends to happen. As we look at our supercell composite parameter, you can see they really do increase as we head into this evening. And we're talking around a 15 to a 20 here around the Chicago area. So, supercells are going to form potentially in that area, and they could be quite intense. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. Further off to the south, it's a little bit less intense. But again, if you have storms that fire, they'll likely show a much more intense environment than what is being displayed here. As we take a look at our significant tornado parameters, this is basically like a tornado target forecast in a way, our 0 to 500 SRH. So very interesting, 500 meters, believe it or not. You can see where our most probable area of tornadoes is going to be, and well, obviously it's going to be right within here. It kind of goes out a little bit further, but right, I'd say right within here, right? You can see your centralized target will be in these purple colors into the white colors right there. Believe it or not, that's where the SPC has its epicenter of a SIG-2 tornado risk. So pretty interesting to see how these correlate, right? And again, down here, that could very well uptrend if storms are present, so we'll watch that closely. Now, as we take a look at what our storm mode could be like, I kind of like looking at this here from our worn-out forecast. You could see we do have a little bit of a sneaky area here as we head closer to Indianapolis, where we could be talking about maybe a supercell risk. It's not a very high end risk, but we are also talking about maybe a cluster down there too. So a mix of supercells and clusters down there near Indianapolis, possibly, but not a forecast. Across Iowa, you could see your main rounds do begin to fire off here. Definitely going to have heightened supercell potential here as we head into eastern Iowa later on into the evening. As for southern Wisconsin, mostly going to be a clustered mode up here. That's where your very large hail could potentially occur. And then if you look very closely on your screen, you can see little splotches of orange, red down here. You could potentially, like I said, see supercell initiation to central to southern Illinois. Not a very high chance. Warn on forecast isn't really that confident, but there's a chance, and that is important to note. But you can see you do have splotches down there. Now, as we take a look at our individual warn on forecast members, we're going to go through this really quick. We're not looking through all 18 in great detail, or we'd be here for 40 minutes, and that's not what we're doing in this video. But I just wanted to give you like a quick run through of what one of these members could look like. And you could see supercell development across southern Wisconsin. Look at this, all right? We do, again, have that risk for a strong to intense tornado threat in central Illinois. I can't stop saying that. Those cells could be completely discrete in those areas all by themselves. That could be a very big problem. Actually, a lot of these are a big problem according to our warn on forecast. Could even see supercell development near St. Louis later as well. That would be a little bit far south, but is possible. But again, you know, lots of storm development here. And I'm going to go ahead behind the scenes, kind of take a look at radar here and compare it to one of these members and then show you in great detail what an accurate solution could look like. So just quickly straying off to radar here, we're looking for warn on forecast members that have a storm in this general vicinity here near Springfield, Illinois. So that's what I'm going to be looking out for. One more thing to note, again, before we move on to everything else, is the KILX radar is currently down. This is a very big issue for you folks in central Illinois, say near the Peoria area, Springfield area. You are not going to have good radar coverage in this event, so if warnings do get issued today, you need to take them very seriously because, you know, you're not going to be able to know if there's a tornado on the ground because we don't have good radar coverage. That's a big problem. Anyways, we're looking for a storm here. Do we see that on our warn on forecast? Well, member 1, we don't see anything. Member 2, we do, however. So if we kind of take a look at this, you can see this could turn into a supercell later, maybe a bit of a cluster. And again, your cells firing up there. This actually doesn't show much for central Illinois. This is probably the best case scenario that we have as of right now. It shows a really messy mode across the board. But as we continue looking through, member 3 shows nothing, 4 nothing, 5 nothing, 6 tries to show something. What is it? You know, what does the rest of the run show? Again, kind of a clustered, messy mode. So that's interesting. Their most realistic outcomes aren't showing all that much. 7, no. 8, we see that storm. That's a really good placement right there. And that really doesn't do all that much. Storms fire behind it. Try to get a little more organized. Again, very messy. So very interesting. So that's 8, 9, nothing, 10 sort of shows something. We'll kind of bring it out in the view just to see. Nothing. Very, very messy. Again, it looks like this area, like I said, it's going to be your main tornado target. Down here, looks like our most accurate members are not picking up much, which is good news. So look through member 11, not much. 12, guess we'll take a gander at that. Again, very messy, so that's good news. 13, nothing, 14, nothing, 15, we're not seeing much, 16, 17, that looks quite a bit better. That's, you know, honestly quite realistic there. And you can see, once again, nothing much across those areas, and 18, nothing. So it really looks a bit messy. Now we're going to quickly fly through this here. What about our southern plains? What is going on down here? You can see we're talking about upper level winds out of the southwest. As we flip on over to our, or I should say mid-level. This is going to be your lower level winds. I'm not trying to confuse everybody here. You can see they're coming out of the south, roughly south-southwest to south, around that direction. And as we head into our lower level winds, they're coming out of the south-southeast. We have a lot of directional and speed shear down here in the plains, typical for a dry line event. Our storm energy here is going to be approaching 4,000 Cape. Again, that is very favorable here across Oklahoma. As we take a look at our 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative helicity, it really picks up as we go into the evening. And for sure, we're talking about air tornado risk here. North Texas, central Oklahoma, central southern Kansas, all under the gun. Significant, or not significant tornado parameter, supercell composite, that's better. We're talking about elevated values in central Oklahoma and into northern Texas. So that is something, again, we'll have to note for there. As we take a look at our tornado target here, our 0 to 500 meter storm relative helicity, you can see, we're definitely talking about, like I said, the same exact areas within here. So really not much of a change here. We're not seeing any surprises from our warn-on forecast, which is good, right in line with the SPC. As we look at our storm mode here, mostly going to be clustered, but you do see some supercell signal right kind of like there. So we could be talking about clusters and supercells kind of mixed together. So definitely worthy of a strong tornado risk in my opinion. And once again, going back to our radar, we're going to try and look at verification. We do in fact have convection here across northern Texas, kind of near Wichita Falls. So we're going to be taking a good look at that on our warn-on forecast to match our members. So what are we roughly seeing here? We're going to take a look at member 1 here, just kind of for an example. Storms do fire across Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, some of which do become supercells, but it looks kind of messy. This could be a little too messy still. We'll wait and see. We'll put it out to 1830Z. That's the time that it is as recording this video. But as we take a look here, member 2, nothing, 3, nothing, 4, nothing, 5, 6, 7, that's a little bit ridiculous. 8, really nothing. And 9, we do have a storm there, so what happens? Wow, we do have supercells there in northern Texas to try to get going, but clusters really fast. 10, we don't have anything. 11, not much there. This is just continuing through. And really, member 9 is just about the only one that picks up on what we're seeing right now. And we'll have to wait and see. We could see a decent supercell, say, in northern Texas going into southwest Oklahoma in a few hours, if that verifies. Now, of course, we do have severe risks over the next few days. We have a slight risk in place for tomorrow with a conditional strong tornado risk for the dry line threat in Oklahoma. Day 3, we do have a marginal risk across a pretty large area, nothing much. I might be getting involved. We'll have to wait and see. I'll keep my eyes on that. Day 4, I'm going to have to do another video for this. We already have an enhanced risk out for day 4. This could be a really big day, and we're going to have to keep all eyes on this. Strong tornadoes are likely. This will likely be a tornado outbreak type of day. Day 5, we do have a slight risk across Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, surrounding areas there. We'll have to wait and see. And with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to my little corner of the weather community, share this video with friends and family on social media, especially if you know anybody, in the risk areas today, central Illinois, where you don't have much radar coverage. Please be very weather aware. I'm not kidding. You aren't going to see too much. And my light just went out. That's not too good. Good sign to finish the video. Anyways, leave a comment section below if you enjoyed it. If you like the in-depth explanations or if you want less of them, I really enjoyed going over warn-on forecast because it really showed my expertise in a good light. Have a wonderful afternoon and evening, everyone. Stay very weather aware out there, and I'll see you back here hopefully in a few days.